Dear Cabinet members, Honorable Mr. Prime Minister, I am addressing my question to you, and it refers to the peace treaty, in particular to the issue of the Constitution, which is put forward by Azerbaijan as a precondition. Despite our claims that the Constitution of the Republic of Armenia contains no territorial claim against the territorial integrity of Azerbaijan, and that there is already a clause agreed upon in the peace treaty by which the parties undertake not to refer to their domestic legislation for not fulfilling the clauses of the peace treaty, the Azerbaijani side is circulating new theses in this regard. And recently, a few days ago, there was a new interpretation that the international treaties cannot take precedence over the Constitution. I would like you to address the peace treaty and specifically this precondition from this point of view. Thank you for the question. Having analyzed recent events, I think there is a question that may seem like wordplay, but in my opinion, that question is really not wordplay. It is really a question to which we need to find an answer. Does Azerbaijan want a territorial claim against Azerbaijan to be in our constitution, or does it have genuine concerns that there is such a thing? The former is a different case, but if we are speaking about the latter, then see what logic we propose. International treaties that contradict the Constitution may not be ratified. Suppose we signed the peace treaty in which it is written that suppose there is such a provision that Armenia has no territorial claims to Azerbaijan and Azerbaijan has none to Armenia. They recognize each other's territorial integrity and undertake not to present any territorial claims in the future. That issue goes to the Constitutional Court. If the Constitutional Court decides that this provision does not correspond to our Constitution because our Constitution contains another clause, then the Constitutional Court finds that we do have territorial claims on Azerbaijan, and we say, okay, folks, this is now a different situation. We have to position ourselves accordingly to this situation, in this situation. If the Constitutional Court says that it complies with the Constitution and sends it to the National Assembly, the National Assembly ratifies it, then the fact that the provision that the Republic of Armenia has no territorial claims on Azerbaijan will receive the highest legal force. And do the laws possibly contain such provisions? One could also interpret it that way, but when that treaty is ratified in accordance with Article 5, Paragraph 3 of the extant Constitution of Armenia, all the laws which contradict, or if a law contradicts the ratified international treaty, the ratified international treaty shall prevail. In other words, if that paper is signed and ratified, Azerbaijan's concerns, potential concerns, would be completely removed. And then saying, what if territorial claims subsequently come up later? Well, territorial claims could always come up. If they were to come up, they would come up, whether or not there is a peace treaty, whether or not it's in the Constitution. And history of mankind has seen dozens, hundreds of such cases. I had the opportunity to say yesterday that we did not talk about it, but it is obvious that the Azerbaijani constitution contains territorial claims on Armenia. But why don't we raise this question? Because this procedure of the peace treaty, which will take place in our country, will also, in parallel, take place in their country, and this issue will be resolved. This is the solution to the problem, but I repeat, to summarize with what I started with, does Azerbaijan really have objective concerns that such a question exists, or does Azerbaijan want such a question to exist? These objective concerns are evaluated by all experts as solvable. Now, there are also analyses of other independent experts who share with us and try to convince us. These Armenia-based independent analysts say that Azerbaijan is pushing the peace treaty process to a deadlock with the discussion related to the Constitution of Armenia, so that it does not have to address its territorial claims, or it keeps open its territorial claims on Armenia in its constitution. Can you imagine now by accusing Armenia of having territorial claims against Azerbaijan, the peace treaty is not getting signed, which means that the claims on Armenia, which are in the Constitution of Azerbaijan, continue to have de jure force. As to the fact that there is no territorial claim on Azerbaijan in Armenia's constitution, I have touched upon this before, but I would like to apologize and touch upon it again. Reference is made to the provision of the declaration concerning the reunification of Nagorno-Karabakh and Armenia. And I say again that there is Article 5 in the declaration which says that Armenia shall create troops subordinate to the Supreme Council as well as other security bodies to protect its security. Now, these bodies are currently not subject to the National Assembly. What does that mean? Is it unconstitutional? No, because the Constitution took from the Declaration of Independence the content that is literally and verbatim expressed in the text of the Constitution, literally and verbatim. If I'm not mistaken, our legislation on legal acts says that our laws should be understood literally and verbatim. That means these are our regulations. It says, read the law, whatever is written in it, that is the contents of the law. You cannot read it and say, you know what, it is written like this, but it means something else. It means exactly what is written. There are no territorial claims on Azerbaijan in the text of the Constitution of the Republic of Armenia, and we have no territorial claims on Azerbaijan